episode 30 of the Hannah on the Road podcast. I'm so excited that we're in our 30s because I'm turning 30 very soon, so I'm extra excited. So yeah, I'm Hannah Lisa, your host for today and always, and as usual, I'm coming to you from my living room in Berlin, where it's a brilliant winter day and we have sun and blue skies and little white fluffy clouds, and that makes me extra happy, although I'm really warm, which is why I'm just wearing this t-shirt and not what I actually wanted to wear, but we'll get to that in a second. So it's hot here and I hope it's either really beautiful winter weather if you are in the northern hemisphere, or you have wonderful summer weather if you are in the southern hemisphere. This is a podcast about making primarily knitting and running a creative business. And if you want to find me on all the social media thingies, I am usually Hannah on the Road on there, most active on Instagram. And show notes for this podcast can be found on my website, which is going to be linked down below. And what's also going to be linked down below is my newsletter for knitters that I just recently started, where I'm sharing what's on my needles and things that inspire me and just generally crafty goodness, if you will. So I'm also linking to that in the show notes down below. If you want to subscribe, I'd be super happy. Speaking of subscribing, and that's the last part of the administrative stuff. No, not true actually, but yeah, second to last part of the administrative stuff. Subscribing to the channel is also something that you might want to consider if you want to have a little email notification pop up in your inbox every time that I post a new video. And we are just under 1,000 subscribers, and I would really want to hit that soon so that I can do another giveaway. So yeah, that's that. Spread the podcast love. Last bit of administration. So, just for everyone who hasn't watched the last podcast episode, I am going to be at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which is in just under 4 weeks, which is crazy. And I'm officially part of the Podcast Lounge, which is crazy amazing. I'm so happy about that. And I will be participating in a few of the Meet the Podcaster events that are going to be there, so keep an eye on the EYF website. Because I'm not sure if I'm actually allowed to say when they are yet, so in case of doubt, I'm not going to talk about it. But I will be there, so if you want to meet me, come say hello. And yeah, I'm probably going to be a bit awkward, as I always am, but that's just who I am. Alrighty, let's dive into today's podcast episode, shall we? And I want to start with finished objects, and I have two. And the first one is the one that I actually wanted to wear, but holy shit, it's warm. It's really warm up here. And it's this beast. I can't even show you properly. Podcaster fail. This one. This is my Black Forest cardigan. Ooh, smells good, like wool wash. This is my Black Forest cardigan that you have seen in its epic glory in the last, I don't know, 15 episodes probably. But I want to spend some time talking about this in today's episode, just to finish this beautiful project up. This is a pattern by Verena Koas that we published in our very first Making Stories book, Woods, last November, and was my release cast on. It is knit in the yarn that the pattern calls for, which is De Rerum Natura Cyrano in the colorway Doré. De Rerum Natura is a French yarn company that uses only French and Portuguese wool and spins and dyes everything in France. So it's really good, and I'm really happy with the color and with the yarn. It was an amazing experience knitting it. The pattern is a top-down raglan cardigan that is knit entirely in fisherman's rib, and it has these cute side details, a shawl collar that you knit in ribbing, and also like a little bit of ribbing at the bottom and also inside. Not inside the sleeves, but like on the cuffs, which gives that, like, it's, I really love this combination of the fisherman's rib with the ribbing here, because it's a super sleek transition, and I just love how it looks. I absolutely love knitting this. It yes, took some time, but it's really, really, really worth it. And I love the color. I love it, love it, love it. In terms of the pattern, I thought the pattern was incredibly well written. Verena has really, really outdone herself again, and it is like, I had no doubt at any point in time what I was supposed to do, which I think is a really, really good thing. I have to say I'm not 100% happy with the finished object, and part of that, there are a few things, and I just want to talk about them, because in case you want to knit it, you might want to consider, I don't know, considering what I didn't consider. The first thing was that, and that's actually not something that has to do with anything of the pattern itself, but I think I might have chosen the wrong size. I chose the second size, and that's for a bust circumference of around 36.5 or something, I think, inches. I should have probably knit the smallest size, and I know that Verena told me that, but I was like, nah, it's gonna be too small for me. But I seem to have lost quite a lot of weight over the last year. I'm still not used to taking that into account when I make clothes. So the finished object is has a bit too much fabric here, especially in the upper body parts, than I like. So it's still fine, but I was hoping for something that is really fitted around here, and it's just not that. It's more of a cozy cardigan. I'm actually gonna throw it on just for a second, just so that you can see how it fits. So yeah, let me get up in front of the camera. So yeah, this is how it fits, and I like that it's super cozy. But see, like, this is just a little bit too much fabric for my taste. So yeah, but it's still like, I was kind of thinking that I would really want this to be something that I would feel comfortable wearing out, and I'm not sure that I am just yet. So maybe it's going to be a stay-at-home cozy cardigan, or maybe I'm going to give it to someone whom it fits a little bit better. The other thing that happened was that the pattern has you swatch flat in fisherman's rib, and I got gauged with, I think, like half a needle size off or something, and that was perfect, and it is perfect for the body. The body fits exactly how I wanted it to and how I was expecting it to. The issue is that the sleeves are knit in the round, and I didn't realize that you're not swatching in the round, because we don't have it in the pattern instructions, and for some reason, my gauge is really, really off, or the fabric feels really different in the sleeves than it does in the body. And I'm not really sure why that is. I actually haven't measured my gauge, but I think it might be worth swatching both flat and in the round for a fisherman's rib. Because the sleeves are a little bit too big for my taste. And curiously enough, they stretched like crazy when I was blocking them. The body is totally fine, but the sleeves stretched like, I mean, they hit around here before I was blocking them, and now the sleeves are like there. So that's like, what, like 8 centimeters? So yeah, that's something that doesn't make me really happy, but I don't really want to, I don't want to unravel the sleeves and knit them again, honestly. So yeah, I'm just gonna live with it and see how I feel about it, and if I want to keep it or if I want to give it away or re-knit part of it. But I'm super happy that it's done. I'm slightly disappointed that I don't love it as much as I hope to, but yeah, I'm sure that either I'm going to grow to love it or I'm going to find someone who will. So that's that. Black Forest cardigan is done. Now I have a second finished object, or well, it's almost finished, and that is something that I cast on while I was, no, I think I had finished the Black Forest cardigan at that point already. I wanted to knit something in a yarn that a very wonderful company sent me. It's called Fleece and Harmony from Canada, and I'm gonna be talking more about them in future episodes because they're actually one of my collaboration partners for this year, which I'm really excited about. And I wanted to knit a hat out of one of the beautiful skeins that they sent me, which I showed in one of the last podcast episodes. And I was watching Maria's Ninja Chickens podcast, and she just put out a new hat pattern, which is called the Hearth and Snow hat. Sorry, all English native speakers, I'm butchering that word. And I looked at it and I was like, ooh, I think this would really work super well with that yarn. So I decided to cast it on. And da-da-da-da, here's the finished hat. This was such a quick knit, you guys wouldn't believe it. So I cast it on a Friday night. I knit the brim on a Friday night, and then I knit the entire rest of the head on the Saturday night, I think in like 3 hours or something. It is really super, super quick. I mean, the yarn is quite a thick yarn, but it also is just so addictive and intuitive. So let me put it on so you can see. And there will be a pom-pom on here. So I knit the smallest size, the beanie size. Maria also has instructions for a slouchy beanie and for a large one, but I like my hats to be a bit more fitted. So yeah, this is what I decided to do. It has this really beautiful cable and then some slip stitch action going on, and I just love it. Like, I love it, and I am going to love it for so many years, hopefully. So yeah, so thank you, Maria, for writing such an awesome pattern. Thank you, Jenny from Fleece and Harmony, for sending me this beautiful yarn. And you guys go check out both companies, like both Maria's designs and Jenny's Fleece and Harmony yarns, because they're amazing. Okay, works in progress. You guys, we have a lot of making today. I want to share 2 works in progress with you. The first one is my Immortalis for Quinns Shawl, which has grown a bit since you last saw it. Backstory of that shawl is in my episode number 28. So if you're curious about all of that, check out that episode. But here it is. That's actually the wrong way, but like, here it is. So this is a pattern that I am improvising myself. I am thinking about writing it up as a pattern. If you'd like that, let me know, because I'm trying to gauge interest right now. And it is knit in Quinns & Co. Chickadee, which is their sport weight 100% American wool, and I love it. I have just added in the 3rd color a few nights ago. So this beautiful golden green is called Honey. This orangey clay tone is called Fox. And I'm completely blanking on the name of this. I think burgundy, but I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, I still have 3 more colors to add in to finish the shawl, and I love it, and I can't wait to wear it. I think it's going to be glorious. So there's that. Love it. And then the final making object that I want to talk about is a new cast on from this weekend, and it is a new pattern, which is the Root Socks by Claire Mountain. So, as you might have seen on Instagram, we put out our second Making Stories publication last week, which is a digital-only publication. It's a collection of 7 sock patterns, all knit in no nylon, non-superwash yarns. Appropriately enough, it's called Socks 2018, and this is my release cast on for this publication. I chose this gorgeous sock pattern from Claire because I wanted to knit something that Claire had designed, because I've never knit something from her and I also love it. And I was looking through my stash because I actually wanted to use one of the yarns that we're using in the book. And I had 2, but the one that I wanted to use is this ball of Rosa Pomar, Retrosaria Rosa Pomar Mondim, which is a 100% Portuguese wool sock yarn. Oh, again, Root Socks by Claire Mountain in Rosa Pomar Mondim. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about socks. Okay, so This is a collection that Verena and me put together because we both love socks, like knitting them, wearing hat knit socks, but we were quite sad to see that so many people don't even consider no nylon, non-superwash sock yarns for their socks. So we wanted to put together not yet just another sock book, but a collection that actually showcase beautiful yarns that are super suited to socks, but that don't contain any plastic, because nylon is plastic, superwash is plastic because it coats the fibers with plastic, and we wanted to not use any of those yarns because they are really harmful to the environment. Plus, honestly, especially superwash yarns, they lose quite a few of the properties that wool, for example, has. So wool has really good temperature regulating properties, right? Because of the scales that the fibers have, they keep in warmth, but they can also cool. They also really contain moisture, and all of these things you lose when you strip off the scales, either through chemicals or you coat them with plastic resin. So all of these things get lost when you have superwash. It also, when you treat a yarn with a superwash process, also because of the way that it works, so that you're essentially coating the yarn, right? You're coating the yarn with plastic, you tend to lose the bounciness, the elasticity of the yarn. So you might have noticed if you've knit something with superwash that it really stretches and it doesn't bounce back. That is because of the superwash process. It doesn't have anything to do with the dyeing or with the fiber itself, but it's because of superwash. All of these things mean that superwash yarns are actually not super suited for socks, because you don't want socks to stretch out eternally, right? You want them to cling to your foot. You want them to not smell, which means they need to have that moisture management that wool does. You want them to keep your feet warm, which is something that superwash doesn't really do. So yeah, all of these are things why I personally think it would be really, really cool to knit socks in non-superwash yarns. And that is exactly what we try to also convey with the sock collection. So it has 7 sock patterns, and all of them are paired with a different yarn, but all of the yarns are 100% plastic free, so no nylon, and they're non-superwash, so that you can get an idea of the breadth of non-superwash, no nylon sock yarns that are out there. There are a few other things in that collection as well. There's an article from us, a little bit about the history of sock knitting. Then there's a lovely article by Claire Divine about her natural sock experiment. There's a longer sort of tutorial-like article from our side about how to really make sure that your socks fit well and how to make awesome socks in general. So what do you have to take into account when you're swatching for socks? Because yes, you should swatch. What do you have to take into account when you want to substitute yarns? How do you measure your foot so that you select the appropriate size for your foot? And so on and so forth. And we also, again, have short profiles of all the designers and yarn companies that worked with us on this collection in the digital publication. I'm incredibly happy with it. I'm super proud of it. I think it's beautiful. I think the graphic design is stunning. I think the photos are stunning. I think the patterns are stunning. I think you're gonna love it. If you want to get your hands on it, you can do so. It's available on Ravelry now. It costs 19 euros, and I will insert the link in the down bar below and also in the show notes. And I would love to see some projects of yours pop up on Instagram. Okay, that was socks. And while we're talking about sort of news and shopping things, I just wanted to quickly show you 2 things that are in the shop right now in my project bag shop. And those are very limited edition project bags that I made from fabrics that were left over from collaborations. This is from a collaboration that I did with Maria from Tuscan Knits. It's a beautiful, beautiful olive green fabric. And this is from a collaboration that I did with Saskia from Ovis Etc. and Verena. And this is this gorgeous, gorgeous gray wool cotton blend. So I have quite a few of both of these still left in the shop. So if you're curious and want to get your hands on them, you can do so now. I also decided on my shop update schedule for February, and I'm going to have 2 shop updates in February. Now I need to find my other part of the... where show notes. So the first one is going to happen on February 15th, which is the Thursday, at 7 p.m. Berlin time. And the second one is going to happen on February 28th at 10 a.m. Berlin time, because I also want to make sure that all the Australian customers that I have can get their hands on some bags. Now, these two shop updates are the last ones where I'm going to be selling my winter colors, burgundy, forest green, and charcoal. So if you want them, you better get your hands on them now. Okay, that is everything that has to do with making. Let's talk about running a creative business and the fact that I'm incredibly hot. This is exhausting. I already recorded a video before this, a Patreon video, and I'm out of breath. I should have taken a glass of water. Okay, anyways, continuing on from last week's slight change in my podcasting sort of rhythm, I want to again talk about one topic that relates to my and your creative business, and that is Instagram. Why do I want to talk about Instagram? I want to talk about Instagram because I have found that it is frustrating me more and more and more. I have to say that. I started out 2 years ago on Instagram with 147 followers and just this intention of posting one photo a day. And I started with white flat lace. You might remember this, like flat lace on a white background. It was like our old coffee table. And then this entire creative business journey has happened. And over time, Instagram became such a tool in my business that, and at the same time it became this all-encompassing rabbit hole that I could spend hours and hours and hours in. I just wasn't happy with that anymore. I wasn't enjoying my time on Instagram, but at the same time I was spending more and more time on there. Part of that is because it is designed for us to spend more time on it, right? It triggers certain reward behaviors and so on and so forth. Part of that, I think, was also because Instagram is an incredibly good way to feel as if you're doing work, but in reality, you're just procrastinating. And part of that was that really Instagram is one of the major revenue driving channels for me. And I think it's probably for you too if you're running your creative business. Most of my project bag sales come from Instagram. Most of the people that I know that book my coaching, they know me from Instagram. And there is this constant tug that I need to do more on Instagram. I need to be more on Instagram because this is what makes me money, right? This is what keeps this entire thing going. But at the same time, all of that joy is lost in the eternal ether of rabbit hole scrolling and seeing ads and seeing posts of people that I then unfollow because it's not relevant for me anymore and just completely sucked, honestly. I found quite a few ways of how to put routines into place that help me manage this. First and foremost, though, I think I said goodbye to the vision that Instagram would still be fun for me. That Instagram would still be a personal outlet for my creativity. I think Instagram is an outlet for me, but it will always be such an essential part of my brand and of me and of my personal brand, and that's how I need to look at it. And that's how I need to structure everything around it. So I started out planning a lot of more of my content. I started pre-scheduling things. I'm talking about all of that, by the way, in depth in the video that I just recorded before this, which is my Patreon video this month. So that's all about really tactical advice, really nitty-gritty tips and tricks that you can employ if you want to still stay sane on social media, not just Instagram, on any social media. If you're curious about that, Patreon link will be in the down bar below. Check it out, I highly recommend it. But I just find that when you're running a creative business, yes, you are dependent on Instagram, and that is the entire message of this convoluted rant on how I feel about Instagram, I tend to think more and more about Instagram as something that should drive people to one of my email lists, either the Creative Boss newsletter or the Knitters newsletter. Why? Because Instagram can fuck us over real good with any algorithm changes, and that's really dangerous. If you know, for example, that most of your pattern sales or yarn sales, they come from Instagram, and you think you figured out how to post about them so that most people see it, and then Instagram decides to change something in their algorithm app again, all of that revenue is going down the drain. And you have to spend hours and hours and days and cry tears and be frustrated about figuring out how to build that back up again. And I just don't want that anymore for my business. So I decided to, well, not go off Instagram, because I mean, I still enjoy it, right? It's not the point that I don't enjoy it. But I decided to try and make myself more independent from Instagram by really pushing for the newsletters more and trying to get people from Instagram to sign up for the newsletters so that I'm a little bit more independent of what they're doing. And I guess what I want to say with this is I want to ask you how you feel about this, how you think about Instagram in your creative business. Have you thought about doing this email list thingy? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a crazy idea? I just really want to have more of an open discussion around the entire Instagram thing, because something that I also learned is what works for me doesn't work for everyone. So the advice that I try to give both in my coaching and in said Patreon video, for example, is I share what works for me, but I also share ideas on what works for other types of people and types of personalities. So I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts on this entire Instagram issue, how you are working with it right now, and especially on this entire thing of like how you can use Instagram to build up a following in other places, like on an email list. So yeah, also shameless plug, if you want to check out the Patreon video, do so by all means. I think it's great. I love that people chose that topic. And yeah, so that's that. But that's something that I wanted to talk about in today's episode, where like last week I talked about budgeting, this week I talked about Instagram. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, just leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear about all of that. Alrighty, lovelies. I think that's it for today. It's a bit of a shorter episode again. I hope you don't mind. I don't have any book recommendations for you this week because I haven't finished my latest book yet, but I'm so close to finishing Oathbringer from Robert Sanderson, so that's really exciting. And I hope you had a wonderful 2 weeks. I hope you have a brilliant start into your new week, and I will see you again here very soon. Bye!